Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this talk on Fuel plugins. So we'll do a quick introduction and dive into the TCL plugins we developed. So Fuel plugins give you an architecture to automate and easily deploy your configuration into your cloud. And there is a Fuel tool that comes with OpenStack. There are some default plugins that come inbuilt, but depending upon your cloud, your deployment, where you want to install the software automatically, you can develop your own plugins, and we'll go through a bunch of plugins that we did for Tata Communications. So Tata Communications, they provide cloud services, telecom services for their customers, and they are in the process of building multiple data centers and providing various cloud services for their customers. And they already built a few. They were doing it manually, where the IT administrators have to go and configure all kinds of things, and it usually takes a few days to complete the configuration. So that is when they decided that they want to automate setting up configuration and deployment using Fuel plugins, and we collaborated with them and together developed about 10 to 15 different plugins to automate their complete deployment of their cloud. So here is a list of a few plugins that we did, and I have like one slide per plugin just to kind of summarize what we did in that plugin. Cinder Plugin is to connect your OpenStack cloud to Cinder backends, and you can just go normally, manually you could go, and once you configure your array, you go into the Cinder component, set up cinder.conf. You could do it manually, but we developed a plugin where, based on the arrays, they have a lot of arrays in their infrastructure, and it's cumbersome to go and set up multiple arrays by hand and configure your Cinder configuration files manually. So what we did is we wrote a plugin that they select when they are deploying their OpenStack cloud. They choose this plugin, and then they go and add certain configurations for the respective arrays that they want to be part of this data center or this particular cloud, and then automatically the configuration is going to happen. Once your cloud gets deployed with this plugin, the OpenStack environment is configured to work with these arrays. An EPB is an endpoint broker. It's a solution that Tata Communications deploys in their framework, and that runs on a compute node. So basically this plugin, what it showcases is you can set up a node, a compute node, and then you can go and install automatically the required software on that node based on your environment. So here in this particular case, this is a broker environment which sits on top of the cloud, providing interfaces for the IT administrators in this environment. So what this does is it picks a node, a compute node, and then automatically the plugin goes and deploys the right Java environment, the modules required for running the endpoint broker, and the software is deployed. Now Glance, typically in OpenStack, right, the images get stored on OpenStack Swift, this backend. Now you could configure your Glance to go and choose an NFS backend to store your Glance images, and that's what Tata Communications wanted. And they were doing is they have NFS backend set up, and they wanted all these Glance images to be coming from that repository. So we had to write one plugin where we go and change Glance so that we configure an NFS server, NFS backend, as the repository for Glance. So when they deploy their OpenStack Fuel environment, they choose this plugin as the and then they give the endpoint, the NFS details, credentials, passwords, and all that stuff. And that is going to be now set up as a backend to store all your Glance images. And typically Keystone, Keystone is your authentication framework for OpenStack, where you authenticate yourself and then you're able to run your tenants and all kinds of services. And it's normal practice to integrate LDAP along with Keystone, so you use LDAP for your authentication. So what we did is we developed a plugin where we incorporated LDAP into the Keystone configuration, so that now your normal regular users using LDAP, they can authenticate and then they could use the OpenStack services via LDAP authentication. So again, during deployment, they choose the LDAP server and the configurations, they key in those details, and then during the deployment, it's going to be set up such that it's going to use LDAP authentication. The OVS plugin is going to be for all the network configurations, and when Tata has a lot of different provider networks, they provide high bandwidth kind of connections for different customers. They have all kinds of ranges of networks that they provide to their customers. So here it involves a lot of bridge network setups. You have to set FizzNets, and the provider network is what gives you all your external IP addresses. So this particular plugin with a set of network parameters you configure during installation, and we go and do all the backend work, all the OVS backend work, so that it's automated and your network configuration is up and ready. So the OVS plugin deals with a lot of network backend aspects of the deployment. And there are a lot of components that you could automate deployment installation using Puppet. Even in Tata's deployment, they had several Puppet manifest files that goes and does various installation for their configuration. So what this does is we have to install a Puppet server on a particular compute node and then get all the manifest files into that server, so that can now be used to deploy your Puppet manifests. So that has been, we developed a plugin for that automation and that installation. So that's another plugin you can do. And Nova flavor in general, OpenStack, when you deploy, you get a bunch of flavors. You could go and create your own flavors, select a bunch of different parameters, RAM, size, and all that. And Tata Communications wanted a set of flavors that they want to give to their customers. They call it gold, bronze. You can name whatever you want. But the parameters you have to define for whatever flavor you're creating. And in the backend, we go and do all the work required to make these flavors available for you. When you want to go and create a new Nova instance, you can choose this particular flavor. So the plugin goes and does the background work so that these flavors are going to show up when you're creating your instance. So that is the Nova flavor plugin. Zabbix, there is a default plugin that comes along with the Fuel environment. But again, in this deployment, you get like one email address and certain default parameters, but Tata Communications wanted some more parameters to be added to Zabbix so that they could get emails, multiple emails, different configurations. And what this plugin does is, on top of whatever Zabbix comes with Fuel, it adds additional parameters for customizing this particular deployment. So we developed that additional customization and built this plugin and deployed it. So all these plugins, we develop the code, and then you build them, and then you configure, you convert it to RPM packages, and then you go and integrate it into your Fuel environment. Now, when you choose to deploy, you have to, once everything is configured, all the Fuel plugins are all configured, then you say, I want to deploy my OpenStack cloud. And you're going to be prompted with a lot of various screens of UI, right? And each one of this plugin is going to have its own UI. This is like a consolidated screen that shows all the UIs. I don't think it's that clear, but basically you're going to be prompted with different UIs where you're going to just key in the parameters required for those plugins, and then once you are done inputting all the various parameters for those plugins, and off you go. Then you say deploy, and then it's going to take whatever time it takes, about half an hour, 1 hour, and then you're going to be done. The OpenStack environment is going to be deployed, and you get all these features and capabilities. And the advantage here is you reduce the manual errors. You can write these plugins once, and you can deploy multiple OpenStack environments. So it's you get a very consistent deployment. It's error free. So that is what and this Tata Communications, they are going to be expanding to multiple data centers in various locations. So it's very important that we automate this and test it out and make sure that it's it's no errors, and it's fully tested out. So we deployed this for Tata, and I think there are few data centers have deployed this, and going forward they will use this for more future deployments. So I think with that, that's the end of the presentation. Thank you so much. Any questions?
I have 2 questions actually.
Yeah.
First, how different it is from using any other config management like Puppet?
Yeah, okay.
How different? And the second part, I mean, if anyone else, like, is all the plugins available in the open source that can be also
used?
In their own way?
Yeah, so first question is how different it's from Puppet. In Puppet, again, it's, I believe you define one configuration, and then it is going to go and get that configuration and do some work. Your Puppet manifest files, it's going to be based on that. And that also you could use, Puppet, Chef, they're all different ways of automating. Fuel is another environment where you go and write you can do same things with Puppet also, but Fuel is providing you more, I think, UI, and it's another way of doing it. And the second question was, sorry?
So all the plugins that you
yes.
you did
So the Fuel has, since it's an OpenStack project, right? There is a way of sending it out, getting it reviewed, and going through the commit and merge phase process, and you could go and get it incorporated. You can merge it into the OpenStack environment, but these plugins have not been yet, they have not been, because of the pressures and the timelines of the deployments, we have not gone through that process of integrating it, but I think in the future, we will be doing those things. Okay? Yeah?
Kind of the same question about using Heat, the automation configuration built into OpenStack.
Yeah.
Did you ever try that before using Fuel?
No, we didn't try that. So Heat provides you Heat templates. So you can define your own template, which is more, I think, generic. It fits within your OpenStack framework. Here, this is a lot of customizations that are done after you deploy your OpenStack. They have a lot of network configurations. They have all kinds of things they do. And they also have separate nodes with very proprietary software installations that they do for their own private deployments, right? So it doesn't fit very well with the Heat template framework. So we have to do plugins, and you can go and do all the plumbing underneath using the plugin. So this was more advantageous than going the Heat route.
Maybe a comment to your point. I just get the feeling that Fuel has a specific definition language, if you will.
Yes.
Which is native to OpenStack.
Yes.
Which is probably what Puppet does not offer, right? Is that a fair comment?
Yeah, I mean, Puppet has its own, and Fuel also has, it has some Ruby stuff, but you use, but it's very simple. Once you get a feel for the language, you can just go and deploy. You can write your thing and build it, and then install it. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah.